About my background and why I'm in Bitnation. So I was already for a long time looking for ways how to change things in society, like because I'm not happy how the government is running and how we're forced to live under a one-size-fits-all model for laws, for, I don't know, for healthcare. You're forced to pay for healthcare, you're forced to pay taxes, you just have to do everything the way you have like to do things in the place where you were born, and just by being born in one place you basically already agreed to a social contract. And so I was trying to look for ways how to opt out, how to do something new, because basically the whole world is like an oligopoly of nation states that have like the entire control over how laws and how the system like has to work. And basically, if you think about this, the only ways how to opt out is to like go to an lonely islands, or I don't know, like look for like in Liberland, look for a piece of land that no one has occupied yet. But eventually this doesn't work out because people are lazy. They want to stay where they are. They want to move on like with their family, with their culture, with the language. They will not move to an island in the Pacific just to try out a new governance system. So we have to look for ways how to offer an alternative just in the moment where we are right now. So instead of also trying to change things from within the system, because there were already many approaches to try to change something by becoming a politician, to do a political party, to like become a president or whatever, but eventually most people who give promises become corrupted. So instead of trying to make a career every year and to change for someone new every 4 years, even though it's just changing, let's say, the head of the whole apparatus, you will never really change the way things work inside of the state itself. So instead of doing all of this, you could just write code that completely explodes the paradigm and just create a new model that makes the existing one obsolete. So essentially the question we pose with Bitnation is, would you like to choose your governance services just the same way you choose your phone provider or any other service? Because we grow up like seeing for some reason you just have to accept the way it is. It's like going to an ice cream shop and you have basically only like 5 different flavors. You can change it every 4 years and you just have to either keep it or either eat it and keep it or just leave the country. So I know it's like very exaggerated comparison, but yeah. So essentially one of our ambassadors, Tetsuishi, also said the blockchain is not just for money, it's for many more things, about governance, applications as well. So digital nomads like him already know that basically the way nation states work do not suit well our international lifestyle, and people become more and more like part of a global culture, like people who grow up with the internet. They know there's much more beyond their national borders. So essentially he was also like claiming that the government marriage system is not working out very well, because why should it be the government's affair of who marries with whom and how they do it? I mean, essentially it should be more like a legal contract that could also be done on a blockchain through smart contracts, right? So like I said before, the nation states that we have in the world today are basically a global oligopoly that have the monopoly on violence by having militaries and the police. And because of their local conflicts, they end up in wars, injustice, corruption, and taxes. And these current governance providers have no incentive to improve their services because they have no competition in their local territory. So one of our Colombian investors, Pedro Rivera, said, I want to create tools that people can use to manage themselves as society. The conventional law-based system is very weak for the society we live in nowadays. People with enough money or intelligence can manipulate and use it against society, as we have seen many times. So coming from Colombia, he already knows that the political contest is more of a popularity contest than about actual contents. And of course, you can try to change the system from within, but rather than that, you would want to offer tools for people to live more free, to live a more free life. And also, we have a big issue in the world about the visa system. So we just happen to be born here, probably most of us in Europe or in an industrialized country, but most of the people in the world have a bad passport. So they have no opportunity to live and work here in Europe or North America. And also 2 billion adults in the world are unbanked. So they have no access to our financial markets, no chance to open up a new company like we can do here. And yeah, essentially this economy, the gray economy that's already doing their business without bank accounts, and the gray economy, it's actually if it was economy, it would be the second biggest economy in the world. So it's actually a huge market. And another one of our ambassadors, Christoph Feuermann, he's also a digital nomad, and he said, passports are by no means necessary. Unfortunately, the global apartheid condemns millions of people to stay in their impoverished home countries, and my hopes rest in the Bitnation platform, which possibly provides everyone in the world with a unique ID on the blockchain, which could be recognized as official travel documents by governments. So I know this sounds very far out and like something impossible, because governments would never let people travel in with something done on the blockchain. But essentially, we can offer the same criteria and the same information like normal passports do. And you can also have a unique identifier. You can have the hash, and you can prove that this hash is unique and that this person actually exists. So these passports could look like this. So you could have a QR code, you could have the expiration date, you could have the timestamp essentially, and you could do it on any blockchain. It was just a pilot project in 2014 to show that it's possible to become a world citizen on the blockchain. And yeah, I mean, here you have a picture, but we are not quite sure about using biometrics. I think our founder, Suzanne Torkowski-Tempelhoff, she thinks using biometrics on the blockchain will lead to the next Holocaust. So we can discuss about that later. But essentially, the fact of notarizing any information, documents, contracts, anything on the blockchain, like here, for example, birth certificates, marriage contracts, wills, land titles, business deals, all of this can be accessed at any time because it's open. It's all for everyone to see on the blockchain. I don't think I have to explain to you why. And yeah, you can always prove that you're the owner of the document, because if anyone would fake the name or anything in a document and you would repeat the process of timestamping the document, it would create a different hash. So you can, by repeating this process, really prove that you're the owner of the document. Furthermore, our ambassador in Ghana, Africanus Kofi Akosa, he said, most of the properties in my country have no titles because of cumbersome processes and corruption. Decentralized land administration, accessible to everyone, is what is needed. But still, as a matter of fact, in Ghana, land titles are administered in a very poorly way. And here, blockchain could step in, and Bitnation essentially could step in to register these properties and to take away one of the main sources of conflicts there, because farmers, they fight about which land belongs to whom. They cannot use their territory for, or they cannot use their lands just to have a contract to build a building. They cannot use it as for a mortgage loan, so they cannot monetize it anyway. And just like that, there's so many things in this part of the world, in the global south, let's say, where people cannot monetize their property because it's not registered in any way. So we could use blockchain to actually achieve that. And furthermore, about mobile usage, we already have most of the cell phone users globally in developing countries, not in Europe or North America, but elsewhere. And people are already using everywhere, like WeChat, Facebook, WhatsApp, and so on. And there's a huge demand for legal services. It's a $600 billion market per year. So essentially, with Bitnation, we came to think, okay, what is it that people really want? Do they want a platform like Facebook, or maybe it's better to have a messenger like WhatsApp, where people can not only start conversations but also convert it into business deals. And so we had the conviction that our jurisdiction, that we want to create the jurisdiction on the blockchain, should be done through a chat interface. So further, we are also creating a software which is called Pangea. It's the app, but around this app, like you could say, it's like the ocean that was around the supercontinent Pangea. It's Pantalassa. It's the ancient ocean, and this is the mesh network that we are using to do like all these communications and deals off-chain. It's not on the blockchain, and we're using a multi-blockchain approach. So we are not its fundamentals, but it can be employed on other blockchains as well. And eventually it should also be possible to, just for everyone, choose different blockchain for their contracts. Also, this mesh network is working through, thanks to the gossip protocol, as a sneaker net, so it can also work not only off-chain, but also offline. Because in most of the developing countries where these services are needed, there's a very poor internet access, actually. So what we could install there are sort of transponders or relays that could send a signal that is not internet, but people could still use the smartphones, because people there already have smartphones. And they could communicate and do agreements and exchange digital goods, but also physical goods using this. And whenever someone from this offline network comes back to the internet, it would automatically synchronize, because it's built as a delay-tolerant network. So yeah, what do we essentially offer with Bitnation? It's the software Pangea, and what you can do with it is to create binding peer-to-peer smart contracts with a decentralized mobile chat app, and it will have a really high cryptographic standard, so it should even withstand hacks from a quantum computer. But this will be further down the road. But we will have, let's say, it should be a really secure messaging service, because we know that individuals will use it who might be dissidents in their countries and who might be persecuted by their government. So we need to provide a really high standard of security. And further, these agreements that are done on Pangea, they will also have, for all the disputes that come from these contracts, there will be an arbitration market. Arbitrators that are everywhere in the world, you don't know who they are, they're all pseudonymous. Also the people who enter these contracts, they're pseudonymous per default. And you basically have a market for arbitration, which did not exist yet. Because before, when you have a problem in your contract, you would just try to go to a court, and would take a lot of time to actually proceed there. And both parties would have to pay a lot of money until they actually come to an agreement. And here you would have a built-in arbitration service where just from the start you have an individual arbitrator responsible for this contract. And he will depend on the judgment of his clients, actually. It's not like in a nation-state court where the people who go to a court are not treated like clients or customers. They're merely treated like servants, let's say. So here you would actually have a market of arbitrators who compete for customers and for reputation. And people can create and join virtual nations. So we'll go further into that later on. So about these contracts that you can create on Pangea, first of all, you check for someone that you will do your business with, so who has the expertise or who has a good reputation. And when you found someone, you will together create the smart contract template, or you will choose a smart contract template, because we will also have a market of templates that they can choose from. And they will choose their code of law that is the best suiting for their specific agreement. So they will not depend on the local laws where they just happen to live. And they do not know each other, so they do not know which local jurisdiction they reside in. So they can modify and customize laws specifically to their agreement, to their contract. And they will also choose an arbitrator, and maybe the arbitrator is the witness, or they can also choose separately additional witnesses. And so basically what happens then, is that you sign the contract with the private keys of both parties. Each of them sign the smart contract, and then it's time-stamped on the Ethereum blockchain in the beginning. But later on, it should be possible to use different ones. So yeah, when you have problems, any of the parties, they will be able to call upon the arbitrator. But most importantly for these contracts is that they use escrow. So it's these multi-sig wallets. I heard you call them cuenta multifirma. I heard it the first time now. So yeah, I think we can go into that in the discussion later on, but it's just the overview. For the idea and reputation of Pangea, we're creating our own AI bots, which is called Lucy, which are distributed without human corruption, because we know that when people judge each other, we will end up in the reputation slavery, like in Black Mirror. And we do not want this to happen. So we are creating a more or less objective AI to do this. And also for the smart contracts, for the wallets and escrow, for the ERC20 tokens, we're of course using Ethereum. And for storage, we're using Lucy for the search and IPFS for the storage. Further, I have to explain that there's 3 different reputation tokens in Pangea. Like I explained before, that citizens are doing agreements, but apart from citizens getting reputation, like you can see here, proof of agreement, whenever you complete a contract, you will get a positive reputation. There's no negative reputation. But also the virtual nations and the laws themselves can earn a reputation. And each of them, just by earning reputation, they will also earn as bonus pet tokens, which are the tokens that we sell now in the ICO, but that there are also utility tokens that you can use for services and that you can exchange. So by earning a good reputation, you also have a financial bonus. And further, I have to say that the proof of collective and the proof of nomic, the reputation for the nations and for the laws, they're done by humans, because we know that AI is still not able to judge things like that. But in any case, it will be important to have a functioning reputation mechanism, to have free markets for these governance services. And in the future, like we're just building the legal infrastructure of what the government essentially is. And when you hear nations, virtual nations, you think probably of the big package of governments and the healthcare and unemployment insurance and education, everything. We're just providing each service differently, or like a step-by-step, let's say. So we start with contract law and arbitration, and then we can start to look for other third-party providers and developers who want to build upon this and use our idea and reputation infrastructure and create services like smart love, marriage on the blockchain, peer-to-pay insurances. It could be for healthcare, it could be for unemployment, it could be anything, or business incorporation, which is already done by Aragon. We could also probably work together with them. Or also real physical security could also be offered. We already have someone interested in doing that, the Umbrella. They have their own marketplace for peer-to-peer defense providers. The app store. And about Bitnation, it was already founded about 4 years ago by Suzanne Tarkowski-Tempelhoff, and we went through a lot of different iterations. So our first approach was more of a platform approach on the Horizon chain, but we figured out this would not be good for the security of our citizens, because all the communication would be public and also would be slow. Then we had the refugee crisis here in Europe, and we helped stateless refugees by offering them blockchain IDs. Then we had the collaboration with Estonia for their e-residency program to build up a notary where they can basically use this to administer all the online citizens of Estonia. And since the beginning, since the end of 2016 until now, we've been working more or less on a completely different approach of Pangea, which should be based on the chat interface. And we wanted to use a different provider, but we realized their chat doesn't work so well, and we wanted to create our own mesh network, which is Pantalasa, which should be should have a much higher decentralization and security. And now we already did the pre-sale in the end of the last year. Now we already started the public sale since the end of March. And we have the PET token, the Pangea arbitration token. So what is Bitnation? We already have actually more than 10,000 citizens which registered on our website, which should now merge to the app that we're developing. We had a lot of open source contributors helping because they really liked the idea. We have already more than 100,000 lines of code in all of this, and more than 200 embassies. Embassies and consulates basically are offered by citizens who want to invite like-minded people basically to their co-working space or even to their flat to either live together or work together, and of course based on their conditions, but it's sort of like couch surfing for Bitnation. And I think it's a nice feature to give people a more physical component to all of this virtual reality things. And we already had more than 5,000 contracts actually notarized on our notary on the website, which we built with Estonia. And apart from just opting out from the system individually, you can even think further. There's actual whole tribes or nations, even just here in the case of Catalonia, who want to opt out, want to create a new paradigm. And they can do so using the blockchain, because using blockchain, they can create their own consensus, which is independent from the political infrastructure. And this could be done just by partially opting out, by doing more and more governance services independently from the nation state. But it could also be done in coexistence with the existing nation states, just like the case with Estonia. Because they also want to offer services to people outside of their borders. And this is actually a huge opportunity for them to do this digital transformation and to offer their services on a free market of governance services, and to realize governance is not just bound to your geographies, it should be global. So this is our founder, Suzanne Tarkowski-Templov. Basically what she said is, what we're doing is making nation-state governments entirely irrelevant. No government, whether democratic or autocratic, can survive without the consent of its subjects. In the same way Bitcoin has transformed the financial systems, Bitnation will irreversibly change the political system and the course of history. So I know these are very big words. Just to round this up, we already started, like I said, the ICO. We are hard capped, like we have a hard capped ICO for $30 million, and it will run until the end of April. We already did the pre-sale where we raised $3 million, and the PET tokens are already going to be able to exchange on Shapeshift, Banker, Ox, and I think we're also in application process for Binance, and also looking forward to integrate in other exchanges. And about the ICO itself, it's a reverse auction model. Oh, the pre-sale, what? The bonds? The discounts. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that you could only invest starting from 5,000 francs. I don't know, I think that there was a huge discount, maybe 30% or something. And now we also had a discount for the public sale, but just like for the very beginning, like for the first hour, for the first day, and for the first week. I think this already passed. But now like what I'm going to describe is how the ICO is going. So every day, basically the price is going down until a specific limit. And in the end, all the people who invested will get PETs based on the amount of Ether that they send into the smart contract. So maybe in the beginning you invested in X PET tokens, but actually in the end you get more because the price will be lower. So maybe you get a 5 or even 10% plus. So depending on how long the auction is lasting. And the max, it will be 30 days. And after that, we will also have an inflation. After the end of the public sale, we will continually give more PET tokens also to the exchanges for 2 years, I think. So how are the PET tokens going to be used? So of course, most of it will go into development to really improve on our software. We already have an app now on the Google Play Store, or you can also download for iOS the test flight app, and we can send you an individual invitation to test out our MVP, let's say. But of course, this is going to be continually improved, and we also want to our citizens and the community to participate in the whole process, so they can immediately give us feedback, and we build up together with them the whole infrastructure of all of this. Yeah, so 17% go to marketing, 22% for operations, and 10% to the ecosystem. I think of all the pet tokens that are created, I think 1/3 is just going to be reserved for in-app actions. So even if all the pet tokens are sold that can be sold, there will still be 1/3 of pet tokens that you can earn just through your work, by working on the Pangea app, just for earning a good reputation. So this is our development roadmap. So as of now, we have like the chat 1.0, so it's like a very basic chat and doesn't have the like high standard of cryptography, and it's still only the public chat on the nations themselves, but we want to enable citizens to be able to chat with each other in a very secure private messaging, which should be better than Telegram, Signal, and so on. Then we will also work on the whole escrow, on the smart contracts for the agreements, for the arbitration. Then we will, of course, have a market for laws, so people can choose the law that they like or even create their own laws. And we will have a specific feature that when you talk to someone and you just use emojis, you can already call upon a bot that will help you to set up the smart contract template. And I think this will be really interesting because we want to make it really intuitive so anyone can actually use it. Like even like with Facebook, like even your grandma should be able to use it. So yes, I think so much for that. We've already been covered in lots of media outlets. So just for you to see, like Forbes, Vice, Wall Street Journal, and many others. So we've already done enough marketing, let's say, in the past 4 years. So now it's really about getting things done, about having the tangible software that you can use, and to show, yeah, that it's actually possible to opt out from the nation state. So yeah, enter Bitnation. Welcome to the Internet of Sovereignty. So. Yeah.